Happy Wednesday. 9 News meteorologist Lauren Robinson here with your virtual forecast. Today we're going to watch for some showers and storms to push their way through Denver, the rest of the Front Range and Eastern Plains as we go through the afternoon and evening hours. We are looking for some gusty winds and even some hail possibilities with those storms, even becoming stronger as they move their way into the plains. So we're going to watch for those to move their way out overnight. And then we're going to see another couple of rounds of these summertime afternoon and evening storms return before we really start to dry out for the weekend and into early next week. So right now we have a live look over downtown Denver. A little cloudy out there today as we get ready for those storms to start to pop up this afternoon. 85 degrees right now, already pretty warm. Winds coming in from the west-southwest at 6 miles per hour. Temperatures right now all across the Front Range and Eastern Plains, most of us in the 80s. A little cooler down in Castle Rock, 78 degrees there. And we're already at 90 down to the southeast in Springfield. The high country seeing those 50s and 60s and then 70s and 80s across the western slope. As we take a look at our live radar, we're already starting to see some very, very light spotty showers across the western slope and into the high country. You can see they're very, very light, but as we go into the afternoon hours, I think maybe start 1 o'clock is where we're going to start to see those storms start to pop up across the Front Range and then kind of continue to bubble all the way until maybe around 4 o'clock or so before they really get going across the plains. So we can see that here on our future cast. This is 1:30. We're going to start to see a couple very isolated storms initially, likely right over Denver and just to the north and northeast there. And then they continue to bubble their way through the afternoon. We're going to watch for those showers and storms across the Denver metro area, even northward through around Fort Collins until around 4:30, 5 o'clock. We get a little break until maybe about 6 o'clock. When that break happens, that's when we see that initial push of storms make their way into the plains, and then behind it, we're going to look for some trailing storm activity. We're going to be pretty clear across the Front Range, maybe around 8 o'clock or so for the rest of the evening, and that's when we're going to turn our attention to the Eastern Plains and watch for some of those storms to become pretty strong as they move their way out. So we'll zoom into the Front Range here so we can get a bit of a closer look at today's storm activity. Again, by around 1, 2 o'clock, we're seeing those storms start to pop up across Denver and just to the north and northeast near Keensburg. We go through around 4 o'clock. We just continue to see those storms start to churn across the Denver metro area and northern portions of the I-25 corridor. By around 6 o'clock, the initial push starts to make its way through the Eastern Plains. We're not in the clear yet in Denver, though. We will continue to watch for storms until I think around 8 o'clock or so across the Front Range, and then that's when the storms really get going across the plains before moving out late tonight. So most of the state is under a marginal risk for severe weather tonight. That's the level 1 there. Our biggest impacts are likely going to be hail, becoming pretty large as you move your way eastward. We're also going to look for some pretty gusty winds with these storms. And of course, locally heavy downpours. We're going to watch for some flooding possibilities across burn areas. As we go through the day tomorrow, off to the west is where we're going to see most of the storm activity for our Thursday, but that does not leave us dry across the eastern half of the state. So as you take a look here, we could see a couple of very spotty raindrops here and there during the morning hours, but the storms really get going across the Front Range around 3 o'clock or so. But take a look across the northwestern corner of Colorado, getting a good soaking there. And then we go into the afternoon. We get a little bit of a dry spell across Denver, but those storms start to push their way through the Eastern Plains pretty strongly. We're also looking for some strong storms across central and northern portions of the high country. This is 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Meanwhile, we're going to be pretty dry around that time period in Denver, but you can see storms both to the west and east of the urban corridor before all of that starts to trail its way out late Thursday night. So as far as tomorrow's storms, we do have a marginal risk for severe weather across the central and northern plains. That's where we're expecting the strongest storms, especially as those storms get going eastward. And then that's where we're going to watch for another chance for those gusty storms with some hail possibilities. As far as temperatures, this afternoon, we're going to see those highs in the upper 80s, lower 90s across the urban corridor. We're going to see a little warmer off to the north east, middle 90s in areas like Fort Morgan, Keensburg, and then we're going to be in the 70s and 80s up in the foothills and the high country. Overnight tonight and into tomorrow, we're going to see those temperatures in the 60s, and then let's take a look at the next 7 days where we're going to see those temperatures go up and down a bit. Today we're in the 90s. The next couple of days we'll be maxing out in the 80s. Each day we're looking for those afternoon and evening scattered showers and storms. This weekend we start to dry out. We'll warm up with with that as well. Temperatures back in the low 90s Saturday and Sunday. And then as we start next week, we're going to see temperatures very seasonal for this time of year in the upper 80s. So we will have more chances for some much needed moisture. Our drought index is getting better and better, but especially across the Front Range and into the foothills areas, those are our areas that are still needing more and more moisture. So we do have several chances for that over the next few days, today included. So again, today we're going to look for those storm chances to really start to pop up, very isolated initially around 1 o'clock, and then becoming a bit more scattered across the Denver metro area and into northern portions of the I-25 corridor through around mostly between 4 o'clock, and then becoming more isolated again on the back end until around 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock is when we're looking to dry out a bit across the urban corridor, and then that's where we're also going to watch for some storms to really get going across the eastern plains this afternoon into this evening. The biggest impact is going to be those locally heavy downpours, where we will watch for maybe some flooding possibilities across the burn areas. We're also going to look for those gusty winds, and we're going to look for hail possibilities. I think the hail could become pretty large as the storms make their way across the plains as well. So I will have an updated forecast for you today on 9 News at noon, and then this evening you'll certainly want to tune in at 4, 5, 6, 9, and 10, and then that's where we'll keep you updated on the very latest. If you can't catch us on air, you can always watch us online on 9 News and 9news.com. Have a good day.